right. We do have this recorded too, so we can pass that out to anyone that isn't able to join today, but I'll go ahead and just kick things off now that we're right at the top of the hour. My name is Riley Cross. I'm an account executive here at Abstract. Certainly appreciate you all taking the time to take a look at Abstract today, and really hope that everyone's taking care of themselves in this trying time that we're facing right now. So I appreciate you giving me 30 minutes of your day. For a lot of the folks today, I know that for a few of you, you signed up for trials, maybe you're brand new to Abstract or you've seen our platform in the past. But what we'll do today is really talk through the design workflow. We'll talk through the Abstract approach, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time actually going through the product itself and really covering the core basics of what Abstract is able to accomplish for you all. We're going to spend about 5-10 minutes at the very end answering any questions. If they come up while I'm talking through anything, certainly feel free to throw them into the chat or ask a question, but we'll definitely allot some time at the end to address those as well. But for those of you that are brand new to Abstract, so just to give you a little insight into who we are. So we are a platform that's really been designed to help enhance version control, file management, protecting your design system, and the developer handoff process for all of your Sketch and XD files. So I like to think of it as kind of like bringing a little bit of calm to the chaos and what we've seen the design workflow kind of manifest into. So speaking of which, what I wanted to go through today is, first of all, how we've seen the design workflow and how the Abstract approach is really going to help to enhance that and hopefully provide a lot of value to your design teams. So when I pull up this slide, a lot of times people are a little thrown back by all of the chaos that's taking place here, but this is really what we've seen as what we call the wing it workflow. So in today's typical workflow, we see that designers are typically working in their very own silos, meaning that they have no visibility into what their fellow designers are working on. They're sometimes not sure if they're on the latest version, they're not sure if they're brand compliant. We're seeing copy paste still taking place in today's age as well. But then too, these weird naming conventions that I know with the organizations I speak to are all too familiar. So things like Antonio, copy 3, final V2. We'll probably see in a week from now, Antonio, copy 3, final, I swear, V2. So there's a lot of improvements that can basically be brought to this wing it workflow, and that's exactly what Abstract has done. So our co-founders, Josh, who's a designer by trade, and Kevin, who is a developer by trade, really put their minds together and came up with the Abstract workflow. So basically what that is the Git workflow that developers have followed for 20 plus years, now mirrored for designers. So here with the Abstract approach, what we'll see is more, and we're gonna go into this terminology as we go, but a much more streamlined process. So here we're seeing that single source of truth. So this is gonna come up many times as we're going throughout the product today. Think of that single source of truth really as your master file. What we'll see demonstrated here with all of these designers is they're not able to impact that single source of truth or master file directly. Instead, what they're doing is actually creating branches. So with a branch, think of that, I think of it as like a carbon copy of your single source of truth or a carbon copy of your master file. That's going to allow your designers to all go through different iterations of the design while still not impacting one another's work. This is also going to open up a lot more collaboration between your team, and again, that added visibility. So a couple of the core things that we're going to go through today is, first of all, how all of these branches can benefit from a centralized design system. You'll see here, again, the need for collaboration. So whether that's, taking a file and sending it up to a stakeholder or leadership for review, or just collaboration between like your fellow designers, your developers, any engineers, all of that can be done within one centralized place. And then two, a great area for any historical knowledge. So what's really neat in Abstract, all of your different branches, all of your different commits, and we'll go into that in a little further detail, but all of that is going to be really captured within the platform. So back in the days when we were all in an office, for instance, if you maybe were speaking with one of your engineers and you were talking about a design and they maybe mentioned like, we need to make this change, we need to do that here, and this is the reason why, this is the benefit. Maybe you would go back to your desk, open up the file, and start making those changes without any given context. Or like today's remote age. So maybe someone slacks you and lets you know that X, Y, and Z changes need to be made on a file. Instead of you in 6 months saying, why in the world did I make that change, and having to go through like hundreds of Slack messages, you'll instead be able to see how that conversation began in abstract and the changes that had been made as the result. Additionally, we'll go over to the developer handoff. So we're really trying to make that process much more streamlined. We're going to talk a little bit about licensing today as well. But again, just making this entire workflow for the entire design process much more streamlined and calm for you all. So let's go ahead and jump into the platform. I know we only have 30 minutes today, so I'll try and not speed talk, but what we're gonna do is jump over into the STEM Society, and let me make this full screen for you all. But for those of you that have signed up for a trial at this point, or maybe you've used Abstract in some instance in the past, just to orient you with what you're seeing here. So when you sign up for a new trial or for a new account, this will kind of be a blank canvas for you to start building out any of your projects. Over on the left-hand side, you're also going to see an activity feed, any of your open reviews, as well as all of the folks that make up your instance of Abstract. So we have two different license types here. So first is going to be a contributor. So a contributor is going to really be any of your designers. It's going to be anyone that's actually committing changes to your files. And then a viewer, on the other hand, is going to be completely free and unlimited, so pretty big part there for you. But that's going to be someone that's like a developer, a stakeholder, a product manager, maybe just someone that wants to review the file, as well as make any annotations and export out any assets. I always like to mention here too, we do have two different versions of Abstract. So what I'm in right now is the macOS app. We also have a web version. So both of the different versions are going to give you the same capabilities, but I do oftentimes see that contributors love the web app version. They're also able to work in that offline, but then for your viewers, they typically love that web version because it means they don't need to download any app. So let's go ahead and jump back to our homepage here and talk a little bit about how our projects are set up. So what we're seeing in my view are actually our projects broken down by sections. So sections are an enterprise-only functionality, but that's just going to give you some additional organization capabilities. You can also go through and favorite either any of your projects within the section or the sections themselves. That's just going to ensure that that's at the very top of your kind of visible layout here. We also have the ability to do this more in like a line view or a tile view. A lot of our customers really set up their sections based on their needs specifically. So for us, for instance, with the STEM Society, we've gone ahead and set this up by apps, website, maybe like a design system, maybe what marketing would need. We see a lot of customers set up sections by the different platforms that they're supporting. So you could do one section is for your website, one section's for Android app, one section's for macOS app, for instance, or iOS app. A lot of the agencies we work with instead set the sections up by the different clients that they are supporting. We actually use Abstract to create Abstract, so a little inceptionist there. But for us, we go ahead and set up our sections by the different departments that are utilizing Abstract. But let's go ahead and let's first click into our design system here, and then we're gonna see how that feeds into our different projects. So in your design system, first of all, to get this built out, what you'll do is go to master and then you'll go to files. To start filling out your design system, what you'll do here is click add file, and then you can import any of your pre-existing XD or sketch files or create a new file from the project itself. We have our design system broken out to be pretty granular here. This is just really beneficial, first of all, for great performance of the app, of the platform, but two, to give you a lot more insight into any changes that are taking place. So for instance, if someone goes in here and changes like the color of an icon, if that icon is in any of our other projects or any of our other files, we'll be able to see from a much more modular aspect exactly what the specific change was. All right, so let's jump back over to our homepage and talk about how that design system then feeds into all of our projects. So here we're going to go into our website, and I'm yet again going to go over to master and then the files, and we'll see these linked libraries down below. So to link a library from any of your other projects, what you'll do is click add file and then link library. What this is going to do is populate all of the different projects that you currently have in Abstract. So here, maybe I want to pull some symbols or libraries from our design system that we just saw. And maybe for like our website, it's only relevant to pull the buttons, the forms, the header, inputs, modals, and navigation. Maybe some of these other libraries just aren't relevant to the specific project. So we'll go ahead and select those libraries, and then you can link the libraries here. So this is especially great when, again, certain libraries may not be relevant to the project that you're currently working on. You'll also see a library up above called project components. So this is actually going to be specifically for this website project, meaning that that library cannot feed over into other projects as well. So just something to note there. All right, so let's look at our files here. So we have our different files broken down in numerical order. The reason we do that is because we set your files up in an alphanumerical order, excuse me. So when you're kind of thinking through like the navigation of how you want your files to be set up, that is going to be one of our big best practice recommendations. You'll see here we're starting on your home page, moving to the shop page, into product page, cart, get app, and care. So now that we've kind of got the layout of your file management as well as the design system, let's talk a little bit about the workflow that Abstract is going to provide. So we talked a lot about that master file, or if you remember, the single source of truth. So think of that master file really as something that's maybe already in development, or it's already gone through an approval process. One of our design advocates here, I love this analogy, thinks of it as like that Marie Kondo Netflix show, where you're only carrying into Abstract what sparks joy, or maybe something that's already pre-approved or again, already in development. So here we'll be able to see all of the different files that are contained within the master file itself. And we'll see over on the right-hand side, all of the different artboards in here. So from this master file, again, we cannot impact it directly. What instead we're going to want to do is create a branch. And you have a number of ways for you to do that. So up above, you can click New Branch here, or you can click Edit and Sketch. Now, if I click Edit and Sketch, it's going to give me two options. So first of all, I have the option to open this untracked. What that means is any of the changes that take place in Sketch are not going to carry back into Abstract. So of course, we're always going to recommend that you create a branch. So let's go through and do that and create a branch here. So one thing you'll notice is I'm not going to title this branch like Riley's Updates April 1st V1. Instead, what I'm going to title this is what my actual intent or action is. So maybe I want to say like I'm updating product page layout. All right, and we'll go ahead and we will create that branch here. And let me go out of full screen so we can open up Sketch as well. All right, so when we're in Sketch, we'll be able to see then too the Abstract plugin in the very bottom, which is going to be our primary source of communication between the two. So let's go full screen for Sketch. And let's say I want to make some changes to like the succulent page. So if I'm in this file and let's say I have been tasked with making some updates like changing the actual size of this image here. And we'll see as I'm making any changes, if I just go ahead and do a Command S, this plugin is going to update at the very bottom, asking me to commit my changes. So something to think about with commit changes. Think of that as really like a super save. So if at any given point of the day, you're getting up from your desk, you're heading out for lunch, or you just feel like you're at a really good space in your design, you can go through and commit those changes. A lot of times when I speak with organizations, the verbiage commit is a little scary. So don't let it be too intimidating for you. It's just a great way for you to reference any points you're at in the design workflow and send all of those details back into Abstract. So maybe I want to include here, like I'm going to commit my changes. I resize main image. We can also add additional detail here, and this does support Markdown, but maybe I'll just include like, spoke with UX research team, wanting larger product image. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit that change, and let's just do one other change in here. So let's go instead and say we want to insert like, let's say a like option. So instead of going to add to cart directly, maybe we want to give them the option to like this. I know I've been shopping online a lot lately, so very used to that. Instead of adding to your cart, we're just going to go ahead and like this product. So let's do again, Command S, and we're going to send that back to Abstract in the form of a commit. And you don't need to commit every small change that you made. I would recommend probably like 4 to 5 times a day is when you're going to make those different commits. So it doesn't have to be super granular with like, I'm gonna make one small change, better commit it. Nope, you can do a handful of changes. We just definitely recommend that you go through here and actually document the changes that you're making. So I'm just gonna say added like button. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and commit those changes here. And we will get out of Sketch, and let's go ahead and jump back into Abstract here. All right, so over on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see that a new branch has now appeared for me. If I go over into the commits, we're able to see those 2 commits that I had inserted in my branch for updating the product page layout. So here, resize the main image, we're able to see the impacted file, as well as when I added the like button as well. So what's really neat is at any given point, we're able to see all of the open branches that are taking place. So you can see a number of my team members have gone through and created branches. We're gonna jump into one with a little more context in a moment here. But while I'm in the branch, 2 really important parts that I wanna discuss. So over in the top right corner, I have the ability here to request a review. So let's say I want to just shoot this over to, we'll send it to some of our design advocates here. I'm gonna send this over to Ayla as well as Andrea. So both Ayla and Andrea are going to receive a notification in the top right corner letting them know that a review has been requested of them. Additionally, they're going to receive an email letting them know that a review has been requested of them. They have the ability then to go into the file and actually make any annotations that they would like. They can request for additional changes, or they can go ahead and approve of the request. Additionally, very important part here, in the top right corner, we'll also see the ability to merge this branch. So again, when we created the branch, it was just making a copy of that master file. We're not really impacting it at all. When we're ready to actually go ahead and take our changes and send that to the master file, we can click Merge Branch here. One really cool thing that we released in the past couple of months, this is another one of those enterprise features, but it's called Merge Restrictions. So merge restrictions are a really great way for you all to provide governance around who's making changes and who's actually able to impact your master file. So oftentimes, like for just a project or just a branch, we typically don't see merge restrictions apply, but sometimes for like your design system, if maybe it's really important that you're protecting the integrity of your design system and you don't want any designer just going in and like going rogue and changing colors like none other, you can instead put merge restrictions on that specific project, again, just to ensure you're validating the design system in itself. But here, for instance, I don't have merge restrictions, so I would have the ability to go ahead and merge this branch into our master file. Now, let's go head over into all of our open branches here just to show you what this looks like. So we can see in here like Scott, Sean, Andrea, Kat, they all have some open branches in here. You can have different statuses for your branches. So these can be like a reviews requested, this is a work in progress. I can even change this to like open for feedback. We can also update it for in development or changes requested. Like down below in one of my last branches, it was actually requested that I do make some changes. I want to take you into a little more of a more complete branch because I provided kind of the bare minimum, which we don't recommend. But I'm in Andrea's branch here, and you'll see she's provided some really, really great context about the branch and its purpose. So a lot of the customers that I work with are typically seeing that design requests are initiated from like a ticket in Jira, for instance, that's been created. So she's gone ahead and referenced that ticket here within the summary, but you'll see she's also referenced it in the title of the branch itself. So this is going to make it very, very easy for you all to easily navigate through all of these different branches, and for maybe like any of your engineers or devs that need to go in and have eyes on the fix that we're making, they'll be able to, again, search by that ticket number. She's included here, though, some references that she used for the branch as well. A lot of our customers include the context problem, any assumptions, engineering information, and then the proposed resolution as well. So just want to show you this as a little more of like a complete branch. And what we're always recommending is the more context that you can provide, the better. But let's go ahead and let's jump back here. And sorry, I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you all really quickly, so we'll definitely jump into your questions in a moment here. But I want to take you through what the process looks like when we want to hand this design off to, again, a fellow stakeholder or maybe a developer. So I'm back in my branch here for updating the product page layout. We'll see with my files, we have at the very top only the changed files, and then down below all of your unchanged. So if I want to go ahead and take a look at what was changed when Riley created this branch, we'll go into the inspect mode. So over on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see she added the like button, she resized the main image, and this is the initial branch that was created. So here we do have, again, the ability to go through and make some annotations. So maybe I want to leave a note here and say, I don't know, do we want to make this red? So we'll go through and make that, and we can go through and tag someone as well. So maybe if I want to go ahead and tag Scott, for instance, and he'll be notified again in the top right corner, as well as email, that a comment has been mentioned to him. So we're doing a lot there in terms of like teams, like if you all are familiar with Slack, you can mention a group of people instead of mentioning just an individual. So a lot to be released there. But this is, again, a great way for you all to go through and see that historical context and that collaboration between your teams. You also can do, you know, emoji reactions and whatnot, just some great stuff. So one thing I really like too when you're looking at these different files is the ability to do a comparison to see the diff between your two files. So here on the left, we'll be able to see the version that I started with, and then on the right-hand side, we'll be able to see the latest version. So here I can do a quick overlay, see that there was that heart icon that was added in. If we were to go into, let's jump back into here, like my old commit, we'll be able to see exactly what the difference was and where I moved the images and the resizing that I had done as well. All right, and then lastly here we have the inspect component. So in inspect, we'll be able to click through any of the different attributes of the file on the file itself, but over on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see the updated navigation between the two. Over to the right-hand side, we'll include additional details like the content, the style, any of your properties pertaining to like width, height, text styles, typography, typeface, and whatnot. This is going to be great for when you're ready to get this design over into the developer's hands. Again, their licenses are completely free and unlimited, so they would be able to come in here, really consume all of the changes that had taken place, and then get to work with actually getting this shipped out. All right, and I think I'm right at 7 minutes. I know I speed talked a lot of that for you all. One last thing that I just wanted to dive into while we're in this view as well. I know we've got short time today, but was actually if you were in a branch and someone else was in a branch and they had gone through and merged their branch to master, how would that impact your branch? I know that's typically a big question that we see here. So just want to take you all into one of these branches here that we'll be able to see needs update from master. So let's go into, all right. So if you all notice in the top right corner, when I was in my new branch, it said merge branch. But instead what we're seeing here is this is requesting that we update this from the master file, meaning someone has already merged their branch into the master file and it's impacting what I'm working on as well. So if I click that on update from master, what we're going to be able to see is this conflict resolution page. So what this is going to propose to us is here's the master version and here's the current version that you're working out of. We typically say that this is a great time for conversation between your designers to understand which is truly the latest version here. So you'll see, we'll be able to see a side-by-side comparison of the two different files. And then at the very bottom, we can go ahead and pick the artboard here. So let's say I want to go ahead and pick this artboard. It will then ask me to include any additional comments if necessary and why I chose the file that I did. So just want to touch on that, as I know that's typically a pretty relevant question that popped up. All right, and I'm going to cancel that one here. But let's dig into your questions here. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, so just want to go through those. How is screen text recorded and stored? Is it searchable? Does abstract link to a document tool like Word the way it does the sketch? So I will typically recommend that we speak with a design advocate if you want to go through any specific questions here. There will be a poll that you all can go ahead and jump into, which you can annotate in there if you are interested in having further discussion to get more technical questions answered. The one thing that I will say when you asked, does abstract link to a document tool like Word, Heather? So abstract's primary goal here, big picture, is really to be like design tool agnostic and being able to bring that Git workflow really to any different tool that you're using. Like Word, I would not say is probably on the radar, but additional drawing tools that we'll be able to see. Does abstract link to a document tool? One thing I would recommend though, is if you're in a branch itself, like all of these links, you can go through and link to additional tools. Okay. And Heather, that might be a great, it sounds like you've got a lot of really good questions here. So one thing I might recommend is absolutely inquiring with our design team. You can contact them through sales and whatnot so that we can get you into a trial and actually in front of a design advocate. Our design advocates here are really great. They are typically former users of Abstract that we've then brought in-house to really help all of our customers and really ensure that you're getting the most out of your Abstract subscription. All right, and seeing some Q&A here. Can you import Figma files or link to them? So you cannot import Figma files today. This is something that we've had come up as a question many times. It's certainly on our radar. We would absolutely love to be able to provide some governance to their tool. We know they've got a lot of cool stuff going on, so definitely stay tuned for that one, Danielle. So if we have some semblance of files in Abstract, it looks like we have too many master files or libraries. How do we start over to clean up our space, or do we need to? So again, in Abstract, we typically would recommend that you could go through and really include any of the files that are already in development or pre-approved. What a lot of our customers do is they create a branch as a stash, and that's something that they're able to at least reference, but they go through and they actually archive it. So just a really good option for you all if you do have past work that you really don't want to like go through and delete. You can always archive that information, but cleaning up the files, I know it's oftentimes such a headache when I say that to our customers, but a lot of times it pays off in the long run because you will be able to see you know, much more granular detail and what's being consumed within the file itself. So I hope that helps, but definitely something that we would be happy to talk to you further about. In the typography library, does it only deal with type styles, fonts, formatting, or does it also include a searchable database of phrases, terms that you use as standard use of terms and sentences? Again, probably a good question for a design advocate here, which I would love to get you all connected with. I know what we're working on right now is doing like a lot of work with design tokens for those to appear in our inspect. I don't know if that's going to include anything like a standard use of terms or sentences. It's not on top of mind for me, so I haven't heard much there. What happens if multiple people merge to master at the exact same time? So again, you'll see that update from master view. Where are sketch files stored? So we will store one version on Abstract's cloud, and then we'll store one version also deep down on your local machine as well. When you link a design system to a project, if I made changes on a design system, this will be reflected to the changes Reflected to the project only when the design system is merged with the master. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. So you would be notified that there was a change that took place in your design system, and if you want to update to the master file. Can I partially merge changes in the branch? Like I changed 5 artboards, but now only 3 needs to go to master. What is the process here? So you would be able to choose. So this is Alice's question. Can I partially merge branches? You cannot partially merge a branch. What I might recommend there is doing child branches. So if you see over like in Scott's branch here, he has sprint 1, and then he's broken these down into child branches underneath the master, I guess I'll call it master branch itself. So with task 1 and task 2, those could be merged individually without impacting the master file. Is there a time limit to sketch files being uploaded to abstract, or any recommendation taking into account performances? So kind of like sketch, we typically recommend 100 megabytes as maximum. We do always recommend that you keep your files as small as you possibly can. I know it's a daunting task, but it definitely improves the performance. We're doing a lot of work here in releasing like partial sync. So if you were to go over to like our homepage and see that I have not synced a couple of these projects just because they aren't relevant to maybe any of the work I'm doing, what we'll be releasing very soon here again is partial sync. So it's not going to ask you to be syncing your projects on a regular basis. It is really in essence for us to be able to continue to provide the best performance for our customers. Can you store files locally only? So they will also go into Abstract's cloud as well. So it would be the 2. We are building out our design system, and I'm curious if Abstract has governance that we can leverage. I would be happy to, Abby, get over some resources about our merge restrictions. That is really one of the biggest use cases, is ensuring that we're validating your design system. So if you want to reach out to sales, or we can get your contact details as well so that we can ensure we're getting all of the information over for merge restrictions so that you can apply governance for your team. What is the difference between orange files and white files with sketch icon on the files part? Let's jump over here. Okay, so these orange ones, the ones that look like a little Lego, those are going to be your actual libraries, where these will be your files. So that's going to be the primary difference here between the 2 of them. Okay. And sorry, I scrolled, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get everyone's question here. How to integrate with Jira. So right now I would recommend utilizing the links that we saw so that you can place that right into the body of your branch. So here, for instance, Andrea has gone ahead and just included the link to Jira. That's one great way for our customers to be able to really improve the communication between the 2. I have heard, in some conversations, that an integration with Jira is somewhere along our roadmap. So definitely something to stay tuned here. How the developer can download assets. They would be able to do that in the inspect area. Again, something happy to provide further detail on too, as an alternative for big enterprises to comply with strict privacy rules about cloud-based. Not sure, David, if I missed part. Abstract cannot be self-hosted today. So it is a 100%, Amazon Web Services cloud service. We typically, if you ever have concerns, we have a ton of financial institutions, healthcare institutions, and whatnot that we have been able to comply with their security needs based on any of the accreditations or certifications that we have gotten in place. So if you do have questions about how we may or may not be able to comply with your team's security, we're more than happy to dive into that. It's something I regularly have the pleasure of going through and doing all of those fun security reviews with the folks that specialize with that on our team. So happy to talk about that further. Is there a way to open the sketch files that are in Abstract from the web version of Abstract? Is there a way to open the sketch files that are in abstract from the web version? So you wouldn't be able to actually open the sketch files. You'd be able to review the design in like inspect, as well as make like any of those annotations, but I don't think that our web version would trigger like a sketch file to actually be open. Jessica, I love your last name. That is my maiden last name. How do you include prototypes for other team members? So when you are in any of your views here, we didn't go over this today, we do have an area for collections. So collections are basically going to be a good way for you to pick and choose artboards and really drive focus to a specific file. So here, for instance, if I want to go into like a design review and show them all of the work I've been doing instead of inundating them with like an entire branch and all of the commits I went through, but instead we just wanted to be very specific about what they need to see. We would absolutely recommend that you create a collection. We are in beta with our prototyping support. So that is something that if you're interested, we can absolutely get you on the beta list so that you can start testing it out. It's really, really neat. I've gone through it a couple of times, but that is, I think it's due to be released in the next couple of weeks here, but we are in the final phases of beta for it. Yes, you can drag, and let me go into, and this isn't my collection, so I don't know if it's gonna let me. The cool thing about collections too is you can, let's see if I've ever created a collection. All authors, Riley. So you can click, drag, and drop these, go through at any point and add different artboards. Maybe I want to go through and add like another one from our product page, for instance. You absolutely would be able to do that. I think this is a really old file that I'm probably in. So you can, and then you also have different share links. So you can do a public share link or a private share link as well. Elaine, let me know if that didn't answer your question, but I can walk you all through, like if I'm in one of my branches, for instance, and I would like to show that to, get me out of there, show that off to one of my peers, let's say, I would just go into the branch. So what I did, I went a little quick there. I went into the branch overview, collections are right here, click new collection, and maybe I'll say like product page focus. And again, this supports Markdown as well. Ugh. And then you would just be able to go through and click exactly which page. This is going to show at very first the files that have been changed. So that's the first thing that'll pop up. Down below, you can still show any of like your unchanged pages. So maybe I also wanted to include our home page. And then I wanted to include the cart as well. So I'm going to add all three of those items. Maybe I want to move this around so that they would be able to see. The first page is the home page, then we're going to go into product, then we're going to go into shopping cart. I can go into present here. This is what I was in when we first kicked off our call today. I'm in dark mode for all of this, but if we wanted to go into day mode, we could see that as well. This is also going to give you the ability to go through and make any kind of annotations or comments here. And then you can also go specifically into the inspect mode. If, for instance, you were sitting down with like your engineers or your devs and wanted to discuss this further. Yep, so it is Danny. So they're just screens that we place for others to review. Correct, yep, so a lot of times a use case that I often hear is like, let's say every single Wednesday you sit down with your design team and you go through what everyone's been working on, for instance. So a lot of our customers just use collections to go through and present their work. Again, with the annotations, it's such a great way for you, instead of like jotting down the notes or requests all over the place, you can instead just go in here, make those annotations, and then at any given point, people can leave their comments, leave their feedback, and you have all of it centralized within one location. All right. I think we got the majority of your questions. All right, Martin, I'm seeing you'd like to be in the prototype. Absolutely, we are more than happy to do that. Could you create multiple comps versions of a design for a page from a single branch? Yeah, Derek, hi Derek. I would recommend creating even like your child branches. So that would be a great way, or just create 2 different branches. because either way, you're not impacting your master file. So if you wanted 4 different versions, for instance, create 4 different branches. If the work is going to be built off one on top of another, then I would recommend child branches. So for instance, if you know you're going to change the layout of the entire page, maybe create one branch for that. But then if you want to play around with different iterations of that new layout, then create some 4 child branches, for instance. You can absolutely do that. Hello, you're welcome. All right. This will be recorded. I can make sure that it is being sent out. I'll work with our team on that, Paya. I'm happy that you found it helpful though. And again, if there's more technical questions, we are so happy to address those. I'm happy that we're able to get such a good turnout today though, you know, and we're always happy to help ensure that you're getting the most out of abstract. But yeah, I'll follow up with my team and make sure that a recording does get sent out. I think we are planning on doing these on a much more regular basis, just so that everyone that is new to abstract is able to really understand the basics of our platform. We know it's not a very easy, you know, new mindset to abide by. So this is something that we're more than happy to always provide some additional context and additional help for our customers. All right. All right, thank you all. Well, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Hamburg, that's very cool. But yes, please stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and definitely let Abstract know how we can support you all best in the next coming weeks or so, okay? All right, thank you all. Have a good one.